What if I told you that every single trader who's ever made consistent money went through the exact same psychological torture chamber? That there's a hidden curriculum the market teaches and it has nothing to do with candlestick patterns or moving averages? Most people think trading success comes from finding the perfect strategy. They believe it's about cracking some secret code or discovering an indicator that prints money. But here's what nobody wants to admit. The path to profitability isn't technical, it's psychological, and it's absolutely brutal. I'm about to walk you through the 3 stages that separate the dreamers from the moneymakers. 3 stages that will strip away everything you think you know about yourself. 3 stages that 95% of traders never survive. Now, before we dive deep into this psychological battlefield, I need you to understand something crucial. These stages aren't optional. You can't skip ahead. You can't shortcut your way through them by buying another course or following someone else's signals. Every profitable trader has walked this exact path, and the market demands you pay the same price. The first thing you need to accept is that most of what you've been taught about trading is completely backwards. Success isn't about being right more often. It's about surviving long enough to discover who you really are when money is bleeding from your account. It's about learning to make decisions when your emotions are screaming at you to do the opposite. Think about this for a moment. In what other profession does doing absolutely nothing often produce the best results? Where else does being wrong 40% of the time still make you incredibly wealthy? Trading operates by rules that contradict everything society taught you about success and achievement. The market doesn't care about your education. It doesn't care that you're smart or that you work hard. It doesn't care about your bills or your dreams or your timeline. The market cares about one thing only, teaching you the most expensive lessons you'll ever receive about human psychology. Here's what makes these stages so dangerous. Each one feels like the end. When you're getting destroyed in stage 1, it feels like you're not cut out for this. When you're grinding through stage 2, it feels like you're making no progress. When you finally reach stage 3, it feels like you've lost your mind because you can't explain your decisions to anyone. But here's the secret that changes everything. The pain isn't punishment. The pain is the curriculum. Every loss is tuition. Every blown account is education. Every moment you want to quit is the market asking you how badly you really want this. Let me paint you a picture of what's really happening here. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a cliff, and the only way to reach the treasure on the other side is to jump into an abyss that will transform you completely. You won't be the same person who comes out. You can't be. The market won't allow it. Stage 1 is where most people's trading dreams go to die. It's called the slaughter of certainty, and it's designed to kill every false belief you have about making money in the markets. You walk in thinking you're special. You walk in believing that intelligence equals profitability. You walk in convinced that working harder will make you richer. The market takes one look at your confidence and decides to teach you a lesson you'll never forget. It doesn't do this gradually. It doesn't send polite warnings or give you time to adjust. It hits you like a freight train loaded with financial reality. Picture this scenario. You've done your research, you've analyzed the charts, you've found what looks like the perfect setup. Everything aligns. The fundamentals support your thesis. The technical indicators are screaming buy. You're absolutely certain this trade will work. So certain that you risk more than you should because missing out on easy money feels worse than the possibility of being wrong. Then the market opens, and within hours, everything you believed about that trade gets obliterated. The stock doesn't just move against you, it moves against you with such violence that you start questioning whether you understand anything about how markets actually work. This isn't just about losing money you can replace. This is about the complete destruction of your confidence in your own judgment. It's about realizing that certainty is the most dangerous emotion you can feel as a trader. In stage 1, you learn that the patterns you thought you saw were just your brain desperately trying to create order from chaos. The intuition you trusted was nothing more than wishful thinking dressed up as analysis. The confidence that felt like strength was actually the thing that made you most vulnerable. Most traders quit here. They convince themselves the game is rigged. They tell themselves that only insiders make money. They walk away believing that success in trading is just luck disguised as skill. They're wrong. But I understand why they think this way. When you're absolutely certain about something and you lose, it's easier to blame the system than to accept that you didn't understand the system. It's easier to call it gambling than to admit you were gambling while thinking you were investing. But for those stubborn enough to stay, something profound begins to happen. The embarrassment of being wrong starts to fade, and in its place grows something much more valuable: humility. Real humility that doesn't just admit you were wrong, but accepts that you'll be wrong again many times. This humility marks the end of stage one, but it's just the beginning of your real education. You're no longer the same person who walked into the market thinking they had it figured out. You've been broken down, stripped of your illusions, and forced to confront the uncomfortable truth that you know absolutely nothing about making money in the markets. But here's where it gets interesting. Just when you think you've learned your lesson, just when you think humility is enough, the market introduces you to stage two, the discipline of waiting. And this stage will test every fiber of your being in ways you never imagined. After getting humbled, something strange starts happening. You begin to see real opportunities everywhere. Not the fantasy patterns you imagined before, but actual structural movements in the market. You start recognizing when institutions are accumulating positions. You spot the subtle signs of distribution before major moves. You can feel when sentiment is shifting. And here's the cruel joke of stage two. You can see these opportunities clearly, but you also know that most of them aren't worth taking. You've learned enough to recognize that being right about market direction means nothing if your timing is off. You've discovered that the market can stay wrong longer than you can stay solvent. So you sit, you watch, you let perfect setups pass by because the conditions aren't exactly right. You watch other traders jump in and make money on moves you predicted, and you force yourself to stay disciplined. You learn that patience isn't just a virtue in trading, it's literally your lifeline. This stage feels like torture because it doesn't feel like progress. You're not losing money anymore, which is good, but you're not making much either. You're caught in this strange limbo where you understand enough to avoid the worst mistakes, but not enough to capitalize on the best opportunities. The hardest lesson of stage two is learning to separate what you want to happen from what is actually happening. You start developing emotional control that goes beyond anything you thought possible. You learn to read your own fear and greed with the same clarity you read a price chart. Day after day, you practice the art of doing nothing. You build systems not just for entering trades, but for staying out of them. You create rules that protect you from yourself. You develop the ability to watch the market for hours and take zero positions because nothing meets your criteria. Most traders who survive stage one fail here in stage two. They get frustrated with the slow pace. They convince themselves that they're missing out. They abandon their discipline and fall back into old patterns. They mistake activity for progress and end up right back where they started. But for those who persist, who embrace the discipline of waiting, something remarkable begins to emerge. Consistency. Not the explosive gains that make headlines, but steady, reliable profits that compound over time, small wins that add up. Losses that stay small and manageable. You start building what professionals call an edge, not through superior analysis or secret information, but through superior patience. You realize that the big money isn't made in the trades you take, it's made in the trades you don't take. Every mediocre setup you pass on is capital preserved for the truly exceptional opportunity. Stage two teaches you that trading isn't about being busy, it's about being ready. Ready for the moment when everything aligns perfectly and you can strike with overwhelming force. You learn to think like a predator, conserving energy while waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. The discipline you build in stage two becomes your foundation for everything that follows. You develop the ability to wait weeks for a single trade. You learn to ignore the noise of daily market movements and focus on the bigger picture. You stop needing constant action to feel like a real trader. But even with humility from stage one and discipline from stage two, you're still not where you need to be. There's one final transformation waiting. The most mysterious stage of all. Stage three, where you stop fighting the market and start flowing with it. This is where the real magic happens, where mechanical rules give way to intuitive understanding. Where you develop what can only be described as a sixth sense for market movement. You stop trying to impose your will on the market and start listening to what it's telling you. In stage three, you begin to feel the market's pulse like it's your own heartbeat. You develop sensitivity to subtle changes in momentum, volume, and sentiment that can't be programmed into any algorithm. You start making decisions based on something deeper than analysis. Decisions based on something deeper than analysis. These three stages aren't just a path to profitable trading, they're a complete reconstruction of who you are as a person. You cannot emerge from this journey unchanged. The person who survives all three stages bears little resemblance to the one who started. If you're losing money right now, if you're getting crushed in stage 1, don't quit. That pain you're feeling isn't failure, it's education. The most expensive education you'll ever receive, but also the most valuable. If you're grinding through stage 2, frustrated because progress feels impossible, remember that patience is your edge. The discipline you're building now will separate you from the crowd forever. And if you've touched stage 3, if you're starting to feel that mysterious connection to market flow, embrace the isolation. Most people will never understand how you make decisions, and that's perfectly fine. You're operating on a level that can't be taught or explained. Here's what you need to understand above all else. There are no shortcuts through these stages. Every master trader who ever lived walked this exact path. The market doesn't care about your timeline or your bills or your dreams. It will take as long as it takes to transform you into the trader you're capable of becoming. Your job isn't to rush the process. Your job is to survive it, to stay in the game long enough to complete all three stages. Because on the other side of this brutal psychological gauntlet, something incredible is waiting for you. Not just profit, mastery. And there's no feeling in the world quite like it.